Welcome to Temporary Australians. I'm Hirsty and this is Jonesy.
No, Greg, that's a dummy. Coming up on the show today, a sled you'd love in your shed, the classic Honda 754.
And mate, I go to a Jap Bike Show over in Perth. It was brilliant.
I can't believe you got us confused. What's with that?
You look similar, I think.
Temporary Australian starts here.
Also on the show, we visit American motorcycles in Perth, check out the Harbourside Social Motorcycle Club, we talk to James Taylor about the Luke Batty Memorial Ride, and check out a flying Kawasaki. We find out about cultural persecution in New South Wales and meet up with Bullethead in Darwin and find out about his nickname. And we find out why some bikers reckon there is more to life. It's not something you see every day. Heaps of classic motorcycle riders arriving to talk about Perth's Jap Bike Show.
It started way back in '07. Me and my brother were just hanging around one time and thought there's not much really going on for the Japanese motorcycles out here in Perth, so we just thought we should put something together, which we did just off our back, and it all grew from there.
From what I hear, it started out with around 20 bikes, but it's blossomed since then.
Absolutely. It's grown up to over 100 bikes on display.
Given that it's an annual event, are you finding the crowd is building up as well?
Absolutely. We're starting to get new bikes. Bikes are getting built for the show, and so we're starting to introduce new people to coming to the show and having a look.
Well, give us an idea of the sort of bikes you'd expect to see at the Jap Bike Show.
Well, we started off with just generally like restored old Japanese motorcycles, and then we started to bring in themes. So we started, I think, the third show with the 25th anniversary of GSX 750, and then we did the Z1. This year we did the Honda CB 750, single overhead cam.
These are the original superbike, of course, and this particular one's a 1974. It's actually a K5 though. It was late 1974, so it was made to K5 specs.
Yeah, I understand you did quite well at the Jap Bike Show this year?
Yes, we had. It was a great show. Lots of bikes, lots of strong competition, and we won. And I wouldn't have minded actually coming second or third because there were some fantastic bikes there.
But when you do a theme like that, does that actually mean more bikes of that theme come along?
Absolutely, because we want to do something different every year. You know, it's not like ordering the same pizza every year. You want to bring something else to the table, and that's what we've been doing, and we're kind of finding it's quite successful.
I think Japanese bike show over here is very strong. The standard of entries from when it first started, I've been part of it since basically day one, and it's sort of the standard has risen that much.
Great selection of classic and modern Jap bikes. Gives us a chance to get out into the community and mingle with like-minded people, like-minded bike enthusiasts.
And tell us about the bikes you've got here today.
Well, the bikes we've got here today, we just got some of the fellas that entered the show last couple of years. They brought some bikes, so we've got a wide selection of classic two-strokes right across to some modern and some classic vintage as well.
Firstly, last year I put a little cafe racer in there that I built and seen that at someone's bike shop, and I thought I'll just whack that in the event.
Over in Sydney, we find a lot of the older Japanese bikes are getting gobbled up by the cafe racers. They're making bobbers out of them and stuff. Is that taken off over here?
Absolutely it has, of course it has. And we do have a cafe section and a street fighter section, and yeah, we got a lot of modified bikes.
I think they're a great bunch of guys that get in there behind the community and put a show on, and all the local community can get together, and I think it's fantastic.
The show's grown, as Mike said earlier on. It was from 20 bikes to now over 100 bikes, and it's been really good for local businesses as well as the motorcycling fraternity, I suppose, in Perth.
American Motorcycles is a stone's throw over the Swan River from the CBD of Perth. How long have you been here?
I started here in 1984. The business had been trading as a motorcycle shop for about 7 years before that, so you can say probably about 36, 37 years the shop's been here.
Have you found custom motorcycling to be popular in Western Australia?
Yeah, it's a sort of a blokey thing, and they like tinkering around with bikes, and you can't sort of customise the Japanese stuff as much as you can the Harleys. There's a lot of mix and match stuff for Harleys that's very popular.
It looks like you import custom motorcycles too from overseas.
We import Harley Davidsons, and some of them are customised, but some of the custom bikes you see in the shop have actually been imported by other shops in Australia who have an import agreement to bring them in, and we buy them second hand. Yeah.
Now, when you say they're imported, they come in ADR compliant, so they're street legal.
That's right, they're a full volume ADR. So they've got all the bells and whistles, all the reflectors, the lights are all specified up to Australian standards, luminosity and all the stuff that goes with it. Yeah.
You also sell hunter motorcycles from your store. Has that proved a popular addition to the motorcycling community over here?
Yes, it has. They're a good entry level for people who like the Harley style of bike but haven't got the full licence. So the smallest bike that Harley make is about a 900cc bike, and you can't ride that with a beginner's driver's licence.
Benno, this is your local hunter dealership.
Yeah, it is. This is the first dealership that we had in WA, and obviously the larger, our main dealer over here in WA. They sell a bunch of hunters and have a great service centre.
What they tell me, they're proving quite popular, particularly with entry-level motorcycles.
Oh, absolutely. They're good-looking bike, obviously, and there's a big market these days for small capacity bikes and guys doing custom work on them, and it's like a new little subculture of motorcyclists that's just become fashionable and popular these days.
It's very much in the style of the Harley Davidson Softail. As to say, it's got soft-tail rear suspension, forward controls, 21-inch front wheel, so it's a look-alike.
Now, in your shop, besides motorbikes, you obviously have a lot of aftermarket parts?
Yes, they're aftermarket parts to fit Harley Davidsons. Once you buy your bike, then it's up to you how much you want to spend to turn it into your individual product, yes.
In the 60s, there was a well-held belief that only the Americans and the Europeans could make motorcycles, and that was kind of true. But enter 1969. The Americans and the Europeans had grown complacent, and the Japanese were waiting to strike with this, the Honda 754. Still smarting from the bum kicking they got in World War II, the Japanese wanted a part of that big bike market. They'd had success with the smaller bikes, but the 754 was a real milestone for them. Here was a bike that had disc brakes, exceptional performance, and something that was going to set the motorcycling world on fire: electric start. And if you wanted to get sentimental and not use the electric start all the time, they included the kickstart, so you could look like a badass when you were leaving the coffee shop. Not only did it have the electric start, it had double mirrors, it had blinkers that you didn't have to flick on and off yourself, and the inline 4 single overhead cam 750 motor, which gave performance of a bike that had never been seen in the motorcycling world. And this was all back in 1969. And you know what would have cost you? $1,900, which equates to about 10 grand of these days' money. Interesting, if you were to sell something like this, you'd probably get about 12 grand for this particular model. Not bad for an old girl. The 754 was also great to look at. I love these 4x4 exhaust pipes. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the 80s got rid of the 4x4s and put 4x1s, so it's very hard to find an example with the original 4x4s on them, but this looks great. I love it. I love this state-of-the-art technology, this solid disc brake, which was cutting edge back in 1969. These days, possibly you don't have the braking power of a Blackbird, but back in '69, this was on the cutting edge. Seeing a Honda 754 in this condition is great, and you don't see many of them like it. It's like a Newtown hipster's wet dream, because if he had it, he'd chop it to bits and turn it into some sort of strange cafe racer. Not that I have a problem with this, but this bike is one of the greatest bikes in the world, and certainly a sled that we'd love in our shed.
Club's been going for about 21 years. We started out as the Northside Hog Chapter, and then when the dealership lost the franchise, we had to split off and form our own club, and we changed the name to Harbourside Motorcycle Club.
What sort of things do you do?
We have a monthly ride that starts at various places around Sydney, and then we organise every 3 months we have a weekend away, and then we also have an annual ride where we're going down to Victoria, or occasionally we've gone across to Perth or Tasmania to make a 1 to 2 week ride. And then the next stop will be the Grey Gum Cafe. We've got about 70 or so in our club. We typically have around 25 bikes on a ride.
We certainly got that and a few more today.
Yeah, it's a good turnout today, despite the weather looking a little overcast, so we're looking forward to it.
Harbourside commenced about the beginning of '93. We've coming up for our 21st year this year. I've been the director for the last 5 years. It's a great club.
What do you like about the club?
Just the brotherhood, the friendship, get a lot of good friends and people you meet with all sorts, come from all walks of life.
The good thing about a club of any description, I guess, it's well organised, is you do rides you never would have done otherwise. When I first joined, I did a ride with 15 bikes around Tasmania. So that's something that I'd often thought about doing and never really got around to. But when it's organised by a club, you just turn up and you've got some camaraderie and someone to have a beer with at the end of the day and a bit of a meal, and it's fantastic.
Kim, who runs the Grey Gum Cafe, advised us that they'd be happy to put up our club flag. And the intention is that each of the clubs that come through here could have a flag raising ceremony. So our flag is up here now, and it's just a bit of a good location for us, and it's recognised by the management here.
They also gave you a bit of help to put it up too, I noticed.
Yeah, we needed the girls to show us how to tie knots. It's good.
We might be able to ride Harleys, but we're not real good at putting flags up.
One of the things that your club has done is a charity ride recently for a family who suffered an incredible hardship.
Yes, earlier this year in February, a young boy, Luke Batty, was tragically killed by his father through family violence. From that, a visit to the Tired Cricket Ground where it took place, I was overcome with emotions and thinking, what can I do? And there came the idea of doing a ride to just let the community know that motorcyclists do not approve of domestic violence, and also to give our support to Rosie Batty and the community of Tired.
We never had a lot of time to organise it. Well, I think there was about 60 or 70 bikes turned up. Everyone was pretty happy to be there and it went great.
It's good to get some good publicity for bikers doing the right thing.
I'm just a zero tolerance person when it comes to hurting children. And therefore, to be there and to show the support and to show care and show sympathy and show a demonstration to other men that this is just not an option to hurt children was a privilege.
Did Rose Batty and her family feel this was something that supported them through their crisis?
It was actually the first public event in support of Rosie Batty, and she was very appreciative of that. Rosie Batty comes from a family of motorcyclists, so she understood where we were coming from. And in fact, she is riding with us next year on the back of Andy's Harley. So she's going to be partaking of it next year. Next year, the ride's going to be longer. And I am hoping that next year that we will get 200 to 300 motorcyclists turn out on the day. Domestic violence, which happens once, twice a week in Victoria and nationwide, it's our way of saying we can do better.
Greg, it's good to see that there's Japanese bike here dragging the Harleys. How have you gone?
I haven't gone too bad. I won top bike here in Darwin last year, so I was able to mix it up amongst them. So we're in with a chance, I guess. You've got to be consistent and reliable, and hopefully I can bring that. And who knows, you can get lucky.
So tell us about the bike, Greg.
It's turbocharged on alcohol, mechanically injected fuel system. The engine I made is a bit of a hybrid system. It's got a Kawasaki STX 15F bottom end jet ski, and made it straight to Kawasaki ZX12 road bike head, motorcycle head. It seems to be a really solid platform. Be able to get all that power down through to the track. So this engine's producing around about 780 horsepower, so out of 1500 cc. So it's probably in midfield in top bike within the current field in Australia. So I'm always in with a chance. Obviously not going to beat Chris and Mark when they're on their game, but I'm in here having some fun, trying to take it up to the boys.
One of the things, I guess, about drag racing is that even if you've got a faster bike, if you don't take the start properly, or you lose a bit of speed at the start, then you're still losing meat.
Yeah. Oh, you lose very easily. Your action time's down by a fraction of a second, or the other guys could blow their tyre off in smoke or anything like that, or have a bit of a crooked run. We're all susceptible to those things. So if you got your tune up right on the day, you're going to have a pretty good chance of taking it right up to them.
So are there many non-Harley bikes in the top fuel competition?
There are a few, but not many. There's more nitro Harleys, but I like flying the Japanese 4-cylinder brigade, so hopefully we can mix it up with the Harley guys.
Well, last May I came here to Parliament House, same thing I've been doing for 30 years, just taking issues to politicians, and I got to security and they said I couldn't wear my colours. I asked them why, and they said there was a ban on all motorcycle insignia on the back of riders' jackets. A week or two later, I was covering a car bike show at the Rose Hill Racecourse, and security asked me to leave because I was wearing a patch on the back. A few weeks later, I went to a community cabinet meeting in Parramatta RSL with the New South Wales Premier, and found out that the RSL constitution has been changed so that no back patches of any description can be worn in their establishment. I guess while people have been worried about what's happening in Queensland, what they haven't realised is that the police down here have been embarking on what I would call a cultural persecution. You're not being banned from places because of bad behaviour, but rather because of what you wear.
Full stage, the lights go green. The 0.76 reaction time. 1.9 to the 60 foot, gets halfway down the track at a 6.89.
I'm actually the principal commentator for Hidden Valley Drags, and I've been doing the job here now for about 8 years.
And so what does that entail?
It entails basically getting on the microphone, on the PA system, and telling the crowd about what's going on out on the track. And that could be dial-in times, ETs, which is estimated time to the end of the track, and just fill the crowds in with everything that happens down here at the drag strip.
Yeah, the motorcycle scene up here, has it embraced this form of racing?
They absolutely do. Look, the motorcycles scene up here in Darwin is fantastic. 6 months, 7 months of the year, we don't have any rain.
And for this event, they come here a lot?
Absolutely, we get quite a few. We get members from other motorcycle clubs down here as well, and the guys love it. We've had the hill full of club members from various clubs up here in the top end. They love it.
Bullethead, how did you get your nickname?
Many of my family members were the Australian Defence Force, and I asked my father, I said, look, I'm looking for a nickname. And he goes, well, one of your uncles was called Bullethead. I said, oh, okay. I said, why was that? Well, apparently he got shot in the head, he survived, so I thought I'd give myself Bullethead as a ride name.
Now tell us about the Patriots. How many are you up here?
We've got 34 members up here. We're military, former serving, current serving members of Australian and Allied forces. We do a lot of work for the community around Australia and around the top end. And up here, we've been up here for a few years now, and we just get involved with the community and have a great time.
I love the thunder, the roar, the experience of motorcycling. But my heart is to help the people know that there's more than the thunder on the ground. There's a thunder of God when He speaks.
Just being out there on the road, experiencing creation, the beauty of nature, the scenery, the smells that are in the air, the whole stuff. When you're on a bike, you're actually in that. You're not in a cage sitting looking at it, and you're part of that. And sometimes there's a real buzz just thinking, man, God created this, and I know Him.
I grew up in the streets of Campsie and had a bit of a wild background, and at the age of 15 I went to a Baptist church with Boys Brigade, and it was there that I was really convicted about God, and I came home from a camp and fell on my knees and gave my heart to God. It just seemed natural that as my life progressed and as my relationship with God got closer, and as I met a lot of people with bikes, that the two emerged. And it's just been decades of enjoying riding bikes with guys that love God.
Well, I find out a lot of the guys, love telling me their stories and love sharing what they believe in. So I said, well, why can't I share, my belief as a Christian, born-again Christian in God? And I don't push it on them, but I definitely don't hide it. If they ask me, I tell them about Jesus, and I love it. Yeah, I love my faith in Christ.
Guys, it's really interesting to see chaplains here at Hidden Valley. What sort of role do you perform?
Well, cars need tune-up and so do people, so that's what we're here for, just build relationships and talk to people, and we're there when people need us.
People who are in motorsport are fairly independent kind of people, and they think they've got their lives all under control, but sometimes things happen that they can't control, and they want to know, well, what bigger answers are there to the bigger questions that maybe the chaplain can help with.
Most people, when they think of Christians, they think of Ned Flanders on The Simpsons, and so it's kind of good to upset them a little bit and you know, change that perception that, what, you go fast and you're a Christian? Well, yeah.
Well, what a great show and what a great series. I can't believe we're at the end again, Greg. Amazing.
Jonesy, I just want to thank you for all your hard work, mate. You've done great.
Well, thank you. That's nice of you to... Greg, I'm here.
Sorry, mate. Easy to confuse.
We'll catch you next time on Temporary Australians. Check out all our details, temporaryaustralians.com.au. See you next time.
See ya.
Shiny side up.